or it's a cry for help. Aren't there some that just are just living your truth, you know? Like, is that necessarily a cry for help? Maybe all these years there's somebody out there who's just like, you know what? I've been waiting for some watercolor painting to come up, and it hasn't been offered yet.
But I feel like when you're in a crisis is when you're looking to live your truth in maybe not so true a way. Like, this is what improv classes are for. Do you know what I mean? You're like, maybe this is me. Maybe I'm into jazz dancing. But, like, probably you just need to have, like, a few conversations with yourself or the people in your life.
No, I totally agree with that. Because as someone who got divorced last year and spent half his disposable income the last 12 months on sneakers, all adult hobbies, being an adult is basically a scam. I mean, all hobbies are a scam.
Your hobby is sneakers?
Yeah, and I picked that hobby up when I turned 31, which is a real problem. I always go out to bars and I see like 16-year-olds hanging out, and I'm like, wow, I actually look like them.
Alex, what's your takeaway this week?
My take is that you can't trust anyone who thinks every baby in this world is cute. That went over all right, actually. Yeah, so, you know, there's, you know, when you're on Facebook, social media, you know, people like to share their newborn, and it's a very happy moment. I'm not trying to take that away from anyone, but there's always, you know, that one friend or that one person who will like the status and also comment, "Oh, your baby is so cute." I'm looking at the picture like it's been 3 days out of the hospital, and, you know, we shouldn't give all these babies the benefit of the doubt. But the more important point is that how can I trust anyone? I can't trust anyone who just says every baby is cute. Like, what if I actually needed to come to that person for, like, a real opinion if I had, like, a crisis? I feel like that person would just say yes to everything that I said, and that's not the person that I want in my life. Yeah.
But you don't think that, like, calling people's newborn babies cute is just part of the social contract and kind of different? Like, isn't it kind of, wouldn't someone be a little bit more dangerous seeming to you if they were like, "This baby's a piece of garbage"?
I think I've just spent my whole adult life being really bitter at people who are performative, so this is my way of, like, raging back at them.
I like this take because there are legitimately not cute babies.
Name names.
I won't name names, but I'll say the opposite. You know, two of my best friends just had a baby back home, and I was worried to see that photo.
Because they're ugly, or?
Well, because I knew I'd have to say it was cute. Luckily, it's the cutest baby I've ever seen. Big, chubby cheeks, really adorable. And I felt so good being able to say truthfully, that's a cute baby.
Yeah, and, like, my sister has 2 kids, 4 and 2, and, like, one of them born was really cute, and I was all over that on Facebook, and then the second kid came, and I was like, I'm not going to comment on that. So I spent the first year just staying silent while all my relatives and cousins just bombarded the comments. But now the second kid is really cute, and I've started to tell my sister that, so she knows I'm real, and I can go to sleep at night knowing that I never lied to her.
Okay.
That's pretty good, and I appreciate some hatering because I'm about to do some of my own. I think it's time that we acknowledged that Anthony Bourdain has tricked us all into watching the same show in many different iterations. So he has had 4 different TV shows: A Cook's Tour, No Reservation, Parts Unknown, and The Layover. And each time he's had to start a new show, he's like, this time we're doing it really different. And he's all tall and brass, so we're all tricked. And he's like, oh, well, this time I'm going to make sure we talk about history, or this time we're going to talk about politics, or when I'm going to make sure that we talk to people who don't get talked to on food shows. But every time he's like, I'm at a restaurant and I'm getting drunk. That's the show.
I really feel like the main person tricked is the head of the Food Network, who is just paying for this, like, many-year-long vacation for Anthony Bourdain. Like, that's a nice life.
It is a nice life, but the crazy thing is it's many different networks. It's been like food, travel, Discovery, CNN. I don't know how CNN needed a food show. He's tricked many, many people, and he's tricked the whole collective world into thinking Anthony Bourdain has had many different shows. It's all one show.
All right. It's happening right here. Podcast playlist. We're calling out Anthony Bourdain. Okay, I think that's all the takes that we have in us for now. Thanks to our guests for boldly taking us where maybe we shouldn't have gone.
You know what? I think I'm going to have to hand it off to Alex for bringing a whole crowd together on some anti-baby sentiment.
I'm so scared I'm going to have an ugly kid now.
Well, you all know that this crowd will not lie to you.
Y'all are really harsh, too, with the baby photos thing.
Yeah.
Yikes. Thanks again to Vicky Machama and Ishmael Darrow, Safe Space. They were joined by Monica Heisey and Alex Warren.
So up next, the Spoke is a live storytelling event and podcast based here in Toronto.
Spoke has these events in which people share true stories live on stage, personal stories that range from being very funny to being very heartwarming and kind of everything in between.
Please welcome the host of Spoke's live events, Vanessa Smythe.
When I was 14, I was absolutely infatuated with a boy named Yossi Niznik. He's not here, is he? Just in case. That's gonna happen one time. And I knew Yossi Niznik because we both trained at the same dance studio after school. I would use every opportunity to try and talk to him. Oh, I just forgot my tap shoes. Bye, Yossi. Oh, have you seen my water bottle? There it is. Bye, Yossi. Hey, all right, talk to you later, Yossi. These moments were hard to come by and pivotal in my eyes. Yossi and I were actually in 2 different dance companies on 2 different schedules, so it was hard to find those moments of exchange. Now, Yossi was in the Intermediate A dance company, and I was in the Intermediate B dance company. The Intermediate A and B dance companies are about as hierarchically different as they sound. Intermediate A, they were some of the most incredible dancers in the country, technically very gifted, high scoring at all the competitions, and all of us wanted to be them. Meanwhile, in Intermediate B, we were a little bit more rough and ready, not as technically proficient, but we had a lot of heart, and we were very grateful for the opportunity to be there. Oh. Now, Yossi Niznik was also a hip-hop dancer. So I would watch on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. between the little blinds as he had his solo practices with our teacher Michelle. And I would watch as he did these kind of carnal moves that just like beckoned to me and marionetted me to come closer to him. I mean, I was absolutely in love with him. My diary was full with these elaborate kind of postulated futures that I believed we belonged in together. So that year in Intermediate B, we had a dance routine choreographed to the Michael Jackson song, The Way You Make Me Feel. Yep. And we had a boy in our company as well, my friend Matthew. Matthew was my friend. Matthew also happened to like boys, so we had very low odds for a romantic future together. But we had good chemistry as friends. So we had this kind of cute duet section in the routine where I would walk and, oh, there you are, and he would pull me in and lift me up and kind of do this funky part and, yeah, friends forever. So we're training very hard for the upcoming competitive dance season. We're in the studio when Matthew does this full of abandon leap that lands in a peculiar way, and he pops his kneecap at a place. He gets rushed to the hospital, there's chaos, frenzy, and we find out that Matthew is injured and not able to dance at the competition, which is in 9 days. What are we gonna do? The bees are freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh. The whole routine is kind of choreographed to feature this boy-girl love story, I think based on the film Center Stage, which also came out that year. What are we gonna do? Enter Yossi Niznik. Yossi Niznik learns the choreography quickly and impressively. Now before, this was just some extracurricular after-school dance program, but now it's like, I felt like I had a duty to exemplify the essence of the song, The Way You Make Me Feel, you know? We go to competition and I'm like, this is my chance. This is my chance to make Yossi fall in love with me. I zip into my purple snakeskin costume pants. The lights dim. And I start that routine, and I am adding different moves, like more hip accents and pelvic thrusts, and I'm thrashing my ponytail around like I'm a matador and it's a cape, and maybe he could be the bull, and I am just trying to give it everything that I've got with all this intensity, and he is not quite reciprocating to the same degree, but I'm still giving him my eyes and giving him my eyes. I grab onto his arm flesh, and he pulls me in and lifts me over his head like I'm this offering to God. And he's not quite reciprocating at all to the same degree, but maybe he can fall in love with me if I just keep giving him my eyes and giving him my... It's only 2.5 minutes, and then the song is over, we all bow, go off stage, and yes, he's gone. Matthew heals very quickly, unfortunately. So Yossi Niznik and I only get to dance the way you make me feel once. Later in the year, Matthew's parents were actually away traveling, so he came with me and my family for one of the other out-of-town dance competitions. And we're all staying in one room. It's my mom and my baby sister. They crash early in the one bed. But Matthew and I have a lot of pop to drink, so we're kind of wired. So we started to talk. And Matthew, I didn't realize he was really funny. He was telling me all these stories about his life and the people in his life, and he would do these impersonations so accurately and in ways that were full of love. And we had these obscure jokes that we found hilarious together. It got even later, so I put my retainer in, and Matthew asked me to count from 60 to 70 because he loved the way it sounded. And we just kept up later and later, and we were whispering and whispering, laughing, and we didn't want to go to sleep. Now, I have no recollection of how the Interbees scored at that dance competition, but I do remember that time under that speckled stucco ceiling with my dear friend because of the way he made me feel. Thank you very much.
That was Vanessa Smythe, and now we head to the Wild West. Matt, are you into westerns and cowboys and that kind of thing?
There's a photo that will never be seen publicly from a couple of years ago when I rode a horse for the first time. And the cowboys who were there got me kitted out like a cowboy, and I had to go behind this kind of shield and came back out, and I had like this giant hat and a vest and chaps and boots, and my daughter, who rides a horse, almost fell down laughing. She was laughing so hard. So no, there's no possible way that I could be a cowboy. But there is something exciting about, I mean, the mythology around it, right? I loved actually being there. I love thinking about it. I have a job where I talk for a living, and I have very soft fingers. To be a cowboy and actually do that work would be really interesting. But there's also, as I said, there's the stories around cowboys. There's the mythology around it. And sometimes when it comes to things like the Wild West, where you expect the cowboys to be out on the range, it's hard to tell the difference between fact and fiction. Think of something like Billy the Kid, for example. I mean, where does the truth end, and where does the story begin? Billy the Kid was somebody who was larger than life.
Right, and so that's where our next podcast actually comes in. Our Fake History is a podcast that helps to root out the embellishments that might have developed over time in history. So to help us discover what is fact and what is fiction in the life of Billy the Kid, here's the host of Our Fake History, Sebastian Major.
In September of 1875, something was brewing in Silver City, New Mexico. George Schaefer, a small-time crook who went by the moniker Sombrero Jack, convinced a local teenage delinquent to help him knock over a small laundry shop. After breaking into the laundry and stealing a bag of clothes and 2 pistols, Sombrero Jack then stashed the stolen goods in a ditch and beat it out of town. His young accomplice was then given the task of retrieving the clothes, hiding them in the boarding house he was staying in, and keeping the goods protected until Jack thought it was safe to mosey on back into town. Unfortunately for the teenager, a few days after the crime had gone down, the woman who ran his boarding house came across the stolen clothes while she was doing some cleaning in the boy's room. Shocked and upset that one of her boys had been involved in a crime, she immediately marched into the Silver City Sheriff's office and reported the teenage thief to the local authorities. Sheriff Harvey Whitehill dutifully tracked down the delinquent and put him under arrest. When he was questioned, it was clear that the boy had been manipulated by the much older Sombrero Jack and had merely been an accessory to a relatively minor theft. Nonetheless, the local justice of the peace thought it would be wise to teach the boy a lesson. To that end, they charged him with larceny and threw him in the county jail until a grand jury could be convened to hear his case. Maybe a few nights in the clink might be enough to spook the kid out of a potential life of crime. This may have been the greatest miscalculation in the history of rehabilitation. On the morning of September 25th, Sheriff Whitehall went down to the teenager's cell. But when Whitehall got down to the cell, it was empty. He searched the small room frantically, but the boy was gone. Eventually, Whitehall examined the small fireplace in the cell, and sure enough, he saw the telltale imprint of finger marks along the sooty inner walls of the chimney. The skinny kid had managed to squeeze his tiny frame into the